Hey guys, so it's been a while and obviously a lot has happened. Now, it's difficult to decide as a creator how to do this sort of video during times like this because it feels odd to not acknowledge it. It also feels odd to talk about anything but what's happening around the world. But equally, I know as not a content creator but as a viewer, what I'm finding now is yes, I'm absolutely fine with people acknowledging it, and I'm watching through videos when people talk about it, and I'm interested in hearing how they are and what it's like for them where they live. But I'm also interested in hearing about things, how people are getting through it, what they're finding comfort in, and about books, about something other than this awful stuff that's happening around the world. I've always seen booktube as a way to escape and to think about bookish things other than any personal drama or global news that may be causing stress or worry. So I want to find the balance of talking about what's happening but also of uploading videos that are somewhat of an escape. And so I'm going to have a little chat about it now, but then I am going to continue to upload videos through the next few weeks, finding that balance of talking a lot about books, which is what this channel is for, but also acknowledging what's happening around the world. So this I've been asked to work from home since Wednesday, which I think has happened to a lot of us, particularly a lot of office workers, which is what I am. I work for a university in the research department, and in all honesty, we were all getting pretty pissed off by Monday that they still hadn't acknowledged anything about us working from home. At the university I work with, they told the students to stop coming to campus, and the students, all their lectures had gone electronic. And that's what you see in the news, right? You hear that a university is shut down and all the students are getting their lectures remotely, but they don't mention what's happened to the staff. In a lot of those cases where you've heard about universities being shut down, they haven't been. What's happened is the students aren't there anymore, but the thousands of staff who work there still are. So we were all getting a bit frustrated, and then on Tuesday they told us that after in the UK, Boris Johnson's doing a speech every day around 5 o'clock, and after that they said, you need to start working from home. So since then we've been trying to do our work from home setup. And in all honesty, my job is entirely possible from home. Obviously, if you work in a team in an office, it's always easier to be near your team, but equally, you get a bit less done because you chat and have a bit of office banter, which you can't have when you're at home alone. But the issue we've had, which I'm sure loads of people are having, is when you work for a large organisation where there's several thousand of you using the network and you use protected files, you have to use VPNs, and our VPN cannot support the amount of us who are using it, so it's just crashing constantly. So I don't know what they're going to do, but the last few days have been a bit frustrating because I'm trying to work and not really being able to that much because it just crashes constantly, which is such a small concern compared to people. There's us complaining about having to still go to work on Monday and Tuesday, and then I don't know if I've said, but I work in a research department at a university and I support medical academics, and we work a lot with local hospitals, research hospitals, and our local research hospital, I met with some of them, and they said they were still having to come into work because data protection means their server cannot be accessed anywhere outside of NHS buildings, and so they're still having to go to work. So a lot of us, when we're watching the news in our countries, are thinking about the amazing healthcare workers, doctors and nurses who are still going into work, but we don't necessarily consider the fact that all those admin, all those support staff are also having to go in. You'd think those jobs can be done remotely, but in a lot of cases they can't. So I really feel for them. I know how I would feel if I was in their shoes, and it's pretty scary, particularly seeing as they're obviously working in places where people in the building have the virus. So I really feel for all those people, and also I know a lot of us are talking about, like I said, doctors and nurses and teachers, and as we should be. Those people are amazing. One of my friends is a teacher, and she's struggling because her mum works with NHS and her mum does her childcare, and her mum is having to work more hours, so can't provide her childcare, but she's still being asked to go into work to look after the vulnerable children. So it's just this constant difficulty in finding a balance that I think people are going to really struggle with, and I'm so fortunate that those things don't apply to me, and I'm sure for a lot of us they don't, but there are people who they do apply to, and that's super stressful and worrying. But one thing I did want to say is that I worked in a supermarket for 7 years, and the Christmas shifts used to go super quick. So there was a part of you that loved working Christmas because it was like, oh my god, like the days go so fast, and you have a bit of a laugh. Everyone's in a sort of festive mood, and there's Christmas music playing continuously. But I will say Christmas is stressful because you get asked the same 3 questions all day, and you get asked each of these questions at least 20 times. Okay, where is the cranberry sauce? Where is the mincemeat? And do you have any turkeys left? Constantly. Some people get annoyed when you're like, sorry, it's 3 days before Christmas, we've sold out. So they'll be like, oh, why couldn't you have ordered more? It's like, well, we have, but you know, it's difficult. Everyone's ordering more. And so I can't imagine what it's like to work in a supermarket. A lot of these people are working at minimum wage, and a lot of these people, remember, are on flexible contracts. For the majority of the year, they're like, please can I have more hours? I really need more money. And they're like, oh, sorry, cutbacks, we can't afford to give you more than 16 hours. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, we can give you 50 hours this week. And I was like, well, yeah, now you fucking can. Now it's really stressful for me to be there. So yeah, I think in this, you know, obviously we should be super grateful for a lot of our emergency workers and healthcare workers and all these things, and teachers, but also within that there are people who work for minimum wage, some on 0-hour contracts. They're in a really stressful, scary environment in these shops. So I just wanted to mention that. So I've rambled on for ages now, but I just wanted to acknowledge what's happening, and I wanted to say if you are a particularly anxious person, then I hope you're doing okay, you know, as well as if you're someone who usually is very active or very social, I hope you're doing okay. I know those types of people are obviously going to find it harder than others. I'm none of those things. I'm super lucky. I've never really struggled with anxiety, and I am not social, and I'm lazy. So this, you know, this is one world event that could happen that you could say to people like me are built for, and there's lots of other world events that I'd be absolutely screwed if they happened. Like, for example, if something happened where they had to keep us all in a big area together, I would be absolutely losing my shit because I couldn't bear being around people for that amount of time. But obviously this being the reverse, I'm you know, as okay with it as anyone can be, really. So I hope you're all doing well and safe, and you know, as well as you can, and trying to keep up your spirits. So I don't really do book hauls on here anymore, but I thought I would because I've got quite a few books recently and it's got a bit out of hand. I'm trying to reduce my TBR, and I'm trying to read new books that come into my house really quickly, and I haven't been able to do that lately because I've just not been very good at it. There's been too many, and I've been a bit unwell, completely unrelated to any type of cold symptoms, trust me. So I thought I would show you this stack of books because in the coming weeks I'm obviously not going to be able to access new to me books. My library's just shut down today, and I won't be ordering more books online because I don't want to, you know, cause more delivery people to have to come out to me. Although I don't know, I know a lot of people are talking about supporting your local indie, so I may have a look into that and see if they're online. They haven't ever been previously, but perhaps they are now. So yeah, anyway, so I have a stack of books here, and these are the ones that I'll be focusing on. So this is like a book haul slash self-isolation TBR, I guess. So yeah, let's go through them. So there's quite a lot of amazing sounding Korean novels coming out at the moment. They've obviously been out in Korea for a while longer, but they've just been translated into English, and I really love the sound of them. So I've picked a couple up. So I bought myself a copy of Be, Book and Me by Kim Sagwa. This is translated by Jiyoung. And I was interested in this author's debut novel, which is called Mina. I thought that one sounded really good, but I've never got round to it. And then when I heard about this one, I thought this sounded even more interesting to me. So I decided to pick it up, and it's really cute and small, and I think the cover is pretty creepy. I don't know if you can see there's blood on the scissors, so I think this is going to be a bit weird. So this is about 2 young girls who are best friends, and they grow up in Seoul, and one of them is being bullied, and then the other one sort of tells the other one's secret, and it sort of ruins their friendship, and it's about what happens after that. So I think this could be a little bit dark and, I don't know, sad. So yeah, there's that one, which I'm going to try and get to soon because it's quite short. And then one that I think is pretty popular at the moment is King Jong, born 1982, by Nam-Joo, translated by Jamie Chang. I was kindly sent this from the publisher. This was incredibly provocative when it came out in South Korea, because this is a feminist text, and it talks about all the sexist things that happened to women in South Korea, the big and the small, and a lot of people were very angry about it. I think the author got a lot of death threats because they didn't like seeing this represented in a book. And I think that sounds really amazing. And I think the writing style is going to be quite different to what I usually read, but I'm very much intrigued by the concept, so I want to get to that one soon as well. And then, as I said, I've been a bit unwell recently, and basically I've had really bad period issues for about a week and a half. It's been pretty painful. I've had some time off work, and yeah, it wasn't pleasant. So I wasn't able to really read any the majority of books I had because I had really bad migraines because of the pain, and so I just felt like reading sort of YA books that were just easy to read without being as attentive a reader perhaps as I usually am. And so I decided to pick up a copy of Toffee by Sarah Crossan. I read one by Sarah Crossan. It was the first book I read in 2020, and I really enjoyed it. And when I looked into her other books, this was the other one I was interested in, and this has something here. There we go. This was the other one I was interested in, and I'm going to hopefully read this soon if I ever feel like having a sort of cosier and heartwarming read. So this is about a young girl who runs away to what she thinks is an abandoned house, and she soon realises there's an elderly lady living in the house. The elderly lady mistakes her for somebody else from her past called Toffee, and she starts to talk to her, and it's about both of them uncovering their past and their memories and this connection they build between each other. So yeah, I think that sounds rather lovely. Then I picked up a copy of Real Life by Brandon Taylor. I pre-ordered this. This comes out in the UK, I think in the summer. This is the US edition because I couldn't wait. And this is a really small hardback as well, and I love these mini hardbacks. Sorry, I need to cough. Clear my throat. So yeah, this is, as I said, by Brandon Taylor, and I read one of his essays in the collection, What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, and I thought it was beautiful. So I immediately looked to whether he had any books, and he didn't at that time, but he had a novel coming out in like 6 weeks, so I put on pre-order. And I think this is a little bit autobiographical. It's a little bit close to his own life. So this is about a black queer man from Alabama who goes to a Midwestern university town. It says he's enforced a wary distance from his own circle of friends for reasons of self-preservation, but it says over the course of a summer weekend there's a series of confrontations and that start to escalate and lead to some things unfolding. So I thought his writing style was very tender and true in his essay, and so I'm hoping that comes across in this novel because I really like the writing style. And then this is the first book I bought in 2020, and I'm really annoyed with myself for not having read it yet, so I definitely want to read this one soon. This is Cantoras by Carolina de Robertis, and I heard loads of people last year put this in their top books of the year, and during like Hispanic Heritage Month and Latinx Readathon I heard people mention this quite a lot. This is set in 1970s Uruguay, and it's a group of queer women who all know about one another and sort of keep each other secret. At the time it was illegal to be queer, and they sort of lived in fear of being arrested and taken away, and they build this really small community where they find love and hope in one another, and this follows them over many years. And I read the first 30 pages of this actually and really loved it, but just wasn't in the mindset for reading a literary book at the time, but I am now, so this is one I would like to get to really soon because I've just heard nothing but rave reviews. And then another one I was kindly sent from the publisher is The Island Child by Molly Aitken. This sounds rather delightful. This is the sort of book that ticks a lot of boxes for me in terms of books that sort of fall in my wheelhouse. This is a book that is set in part on an island. It follows a young girl called Una, and it follows her story when she's a young girl, but then we also come back to her about 20 years later as an adult and the life she leads now. This is very focused on Irish folklore, motherhood, feminism, and it says it's really, it says rich, haunting and rooted in Irish folklore. This is about identity, motherhood, freedom and fate and the healing power of stories. And I read the first couple of pages of this and I really loved the opening segment. It was about the fact that in this island community the men lost their lives to the sea and the women lost their lives to a different type of water, that being you know, their tears over the men they've lost and the hard life they have to lead on land. It was much more beautifully written than that, but yeah, so I'm excited about this one. And then these next two I was sent by Catapult. They are an independent press in the US, and they very kindly sent me these two at my request. This is Black Sunday by Tola, Rotimi, Abraham. I think this is a brilliant cover, I really love it, and I love the sound of this novel. So this is a Nigerian novel about two, I think, twin sisters? Yes, twin sisters. They live in Lagos in 1996, and their mother loses her job due to political strife, and they begin to face poverty, and then they decide in the end their father loses lots of money, their parents' marriages crumble, and so they have to go and live with their traditional Yoruba grandparents with their other siblings, and it follows their fates from then on, and I think how they both take different paths with the cards they've been dealt. So I'm very interested in this one, and I've seen like an interview with the author, and I thought she came across really well, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And then the other one they sent me, which I cannot wait to get to, is A Map is Only One Story, 20 Writers on Immigration, Family and the Meaning of Home. This is edited by Nicole, Chung and Mensah, Demary. So Catapult publish an online literary journal, I guess you'd call it. I think they publish like 1 or 2 essays or stories a day. And this is the first sort of compilation, this is the first published anthology, and they decided to focus on these themes. So they went through all their back catalogue and chose what they thought were the 20 best essays that applied to this. I think this is going to be fascinating. This is from voices all over the world. So it says from an ancestral village in China to American life as a Nigerian. This follows across borders and generations and highlights the human side of immigration policies and polarised rhetoric. So yeah, I find this topic absolutely fascinating, particularly when it's blended with memoir, and this is exactly what all these 20 essays are going to do. Now with anthologies, you're not going to enjoy them all because we all like different writing styles, and that's okay, I think, as long as, you know, in its totality, you prefer more of them than you dislike them. Does that make sense? But what I love about books like this is that you find writers who you really enjoy, and then you get to go and look into if they've published anything else, and perhaps you wouldn't have even heard of them before. So I'm very excited about that one. And then these last 3 I picked up for myself over the past few weeks or so. So this is I'm Telling the Truth But I'm Lying, and this is an essay collection by Bassey, Ikpi. I keep wanting to say the P and the K the other way around, but it's Ikpi. So this is a collection of essays that form a memoir, and it says she explores her life as a Nigerian-American immigrant, a black woman, a slam poet, a mother, a daughter, an artist, through the lens of her mental health and diagnoses of bipolar 2 and anxiety. And again, I've heard such phenomenal things about this book, and when I had a flick through it, a lot of these essays are quite short, like around 6 pages in length, so I think this is going to be one that's so easy to just keep turning the pages to find out more and more. And I read the first essay and I really liked the tone, so yeah, and as I said, I've heard nothing but rave reviews, so there's that one. And then this is another one I had on pre-order because it sounded phenomenal. This is Minor Feelings, A Reckoning on Race and the Asian Condition by Cathy Park Hong. So Cathy Park Hong was born to Korean immigrants, and so she grew up in America steeped in shame, suspicion and melancholy. She writes this book which is a focus on what it's like to live in America as the descendants of Asian parents, and these minor feelings. She's discussing racism, but sort of what you'd, I guess, call small moments of racism that build up in totality to serious oppression. And I think this is a book that is like necessary. I don't think this is a topic we discuss as much when we think of racism in America. Obviously the biggest thing we think of is racism against black people in the US, African Americans and black immigrants. And I think obviously that's really important, and that's something I always read about and want to know more about, but I think books like this are necessary to make us consider the fact that there are also other forms of racism and oppression happening all over the world, but in this case it's in the US. And I think blending that with memoir is just the exact type of book I like to read. So again, like, I'm so excited for all of these, and it's so hard because which one do I pick up? Like, please tell me. And then lastly, I have this poetry collection. This is Hey Bert by Roberto Pastore. So I absolutely love Shana Bert's channel. So it is my favourite YouTube channel of all time. I'm just going to say it really is. Johnny always knows when I'm watching one of their videos because I'm just smiling from ear to ear. Their videos are delightful. I have fluff on the end of my nose. So this is Bert's first published poetry collection. I don't really read poetry because I find it quite difficult, but I heard loads of people talk about this and say that they don't really read poetry, but they felt a really deep connection to it and really enjoyed it. And I'm really glad I picked it up because I had a flick through when it arrived and could totally see their point. So I'm going to try and read this one over the next few days. Now, if you're not subscribed to Shan and Bert's channel, Pastore Time, please do. They do lots of vlogs. I feel like they really welcome you into their lives and their home, and they're really so cosy. And I think during times of anxiety, they're the perfect channel to be subscribed to. So please, please subscribe. So there's that one. And also go and buy Bert's book because it sounds wonderful. So those are all the new to me books I have. That I've bought or been sent. I also have lots of books out from the library. This video would be too long if I also spoke about those. So I'm going to be putting that video on my Patreon for my tier 1 patrons. So if you do want to go over there and have a look, it's $1 for my tier 1 patrons, I'm pretty sure it is. And you can go and check that out. Obviously there is absolutely no expectation to, but I just thought I'd mention that I'll be putting that up today for my patrons. So yeah, that is everything I have to talk about, and I'll be back very soon. I'm going to try and get back into doing videos because I know I'm really enjoying that there's more content for me to watch. Now we have more time at home, so I'm going to try and sort of repay the favour and do that for others. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think I should pick up first. Let me know if you've read any of these or if you are interested in picking them up as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.